Okay, I want to quickly go over how the XY effects can be used to either finish out your beat or to do some fun stuff with it live. So if you haven't used it yet, you're in your main page here. You go over to the XY. I'm going to play this little beat I have. And we go to Setup. And I'm going to turn my wet dry down a little bit. Basically, you've got the attack, the release, the wet dry. Which, I mean, you should know what these mean. Basically, the attack is how long it'll take for the effect to hit. The release is how long it'll remain after you release your hand. And the wet dry is how much of it is on the program or the full output. So I'm bringing down the wet dry. Now, you'll notice right now I only have this on the output 1, 2. So that's on everything, basically, in the beat. So if I play my beat, you'll hear I can start doing little beat repeats, you know. So if you wanted to just play around with it live, you can sit here. You know, you can leave it on the full outputs. Now, I personally like to finger drum a lot of my beats live, so I don't usually do this too much live. But if you wanted to play around with your beat live, you know, I've got my A and my B part right here. You know, I can cut back and forth between the XY. You know, drop, come to the low pass maybe. You know. You know, you could try the low pass, like rolling the low pass on too. That's one I like. You know, the tape stop's obviously nice, but if you're going to use the tape stop, I recommend throwing your wet dry back up to 100 or somewhere high because then you really hear it, you know. See, if I take that off a bit, you're not going to hear as much, you know. It just doesn't have the same, you know, punch. You got wave folder, you've got delays, you know. It's fun to like latch the delay. Maybe just do the delay on the drum track. You know, you've got a phaser, manual, and linked to the BPM. And obviously you can lessen how much is there. These are just fun ways you can add something to your beat live if you want to play around with it. You know, it's kind of like a chaos pad. You can basically use it like a chaos pad. You got low pass. You've got low passes linked to the BPM, like a filter. You can do some filters linked to the BPM, low pass, band pass, high pass. Now, I almost always put my attack and release up a little bit on this, just because it helps smoothen it all out. Because it'll still link, like the BPM, the automatic low passes and stuff like that. Those will all link to the BPM. You know, they'll link to your track, so you don't have to be too tight about it. But it's nice to have those set up. And you know, if you're somebody used to using the SP, the beat repeat is not as smooth. It's not a knob to turn it there, so you really need to be listening, you know, trigger it right after the sound you want to trigger. See, like if I'm listening for that snare, you know, I will trigger it immediately after the sound I want to sit on, you know, or immediately after the bar that I want to repeat, you know. You can also, up here on your XYFX location, you can switch it over to just the program itself, you know. So say you want to just put these effects on the drum program. See, See how it's no longer affecting the sample, it's no longer affecting the bass line. And this is good if you want to do something like this, you know, bring the drums down, you know. Now you can also automate and record in an XFY effect on your, you know, on your sequence here, on either the program. For whatever reason, right now they don't let you record it to the output, which is kind of annoying. I'll show you my workaround for that in a minute. But you can automate that to the drum track if you wanted to. So if I go to XY and I put it on the program, I go up here to the record button and change it from R, which is read, to W, which is write, so that's for recording, obviously, red record, green play. And then if I overdub, play it from the top, anything I put in there will stay in there. I'll show you what I mean. Now if I go back to read, the green, and just hit play. See how it recorded all those in? Now you can only do that with so if you want to get rid of what you just recorded in there, you can go back to the pencil icon on the main, go to erase, and just automation. See automation here? Automation. And parameter all. You can change it to just the axis, just the Y effects, just in case you had automated some other effects, you can pick exactly which effect you want to erase. But the only automation on this right now is that. So I'm just going to go to all, do it, make sure it's on the right track, blah, 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 do it. So now you'll see the drums went back to the normal loop. Now you can do that with any of these XFY effects you want on any of the programs you want. But if you come back to the Say I had set that up for the beat repeat on the XY effects, right? Say I had said beat repeat, that's what I'm going to use. And I had recorded that in like I just did. If I then came back here later and moved this to there, it would now do whatever I had automated, but only to a high pass, you know, and only to a flanger or only to a delay. You know what I'm saying? Like each track only seems to be able to hold one automated XY effect chain at a time, but you could do that, bounce that to a sample, put it back in, do another layer, bounce it to a sample. But if you wanted to have multiple layers of the XY effects recorded onto the bar, you could do that. So you've got those XY effects. You can play with those live. We talked a little about that, and that's really just practice. You can automate the XY effects to add something into your track. Let's talk about another way I like to use them, which is to finalize a work. Like, for example, I have this beat. You know, there's an A part, then there's a B part. Go back to the A part. Okay, so A part. So let's say I wanted to just create a verse part for that A that would have a lot of interest and put more effects in. Maybe I want to have more than one layer of effect, and I just want to do like a 16 bar of that verse. So a way I like to work around that is, say you go to menu and go to the looper, right? So now I have everything running. The XY effects are latched up on that program. If I go here to resample left and right, I'm going to make this 8 bars, like a half of a verse, just for, you know, you can make it 16, do a full verse this way, etc. But just for expediency, let's go with 8 bars. So I'm going to go to record, and it's ready to play. And as soon as I hit play start, it's going to start recording here, okay? And it'll just record those 8 bars, and then it'll play it. See, if you switch to overdub, then as soon as you finish playing, it'll continue, you know, as soon as it loops back around, it'll continue and record another layer, another layer, another layer. I don't really want that, so I'm just going to go to play. It'll sync to the BPM in the track. Yeah, I think everything else is pretty self-explanatory. All right, so play start, and basically I'm going to play it, And as it's going, I'm going to go over to the XY effect and affect the sound. And it's going to be recording what I've done to it into this. And that way I can switch around within the XY effects, do what I like to do, and, you know, give it a little more interest for a verse part, per se. So here's a play. Okay, so that was just 8 bars, simple. You know, you could do it for 16 to give yourself a full verse. But so now you'll hear I've got a little bit of a beat repeat at the beginning, and then I've got a little delay kick in at the second half. So if I want to just export that, now I'm going to say, the way I like to go is part A, part B. That's from like being a musician. You know, I just think of them as A's, B's, C's. So this is my A, and I'm going to say it's A1, okay? And I'm going to do it. Just send it to the sample library for this project. Go to sample edit. Now I've got a first 8-bar loop here with those little effects in it. And now I could obviously attach, you know, I can take all these chops, put them into a program. That becomes somewhere I can trigger the whole track if I want to. So basically my point is if you have a beat and you have, this is just a simple, quick way to like add more of a finishing touch to a little simple beat. If you have like a simple, you know, beat, maybe you got 2 parts, you don't know what to do with them, you know. You can totally either play around with the XY effects, latch something into the beat, give it a nice rise or something like that, or go to the looper, mix down some A's and some B's. Yeah, so say I wanted to do a little B part. I could come over here, go back to the resample LR. Now, one thing you're going to have to keep in mind that I find very annoying is every time you come away from this looper space and stop and restart, it goes all the way back to input 1 and 2. I wish it would stay where you put it for that project at least, you know, but what are you going to do? So you switch it to resample LR, overdub, again, 8 bars is totally fine for the chorus. I'm going to play start. And so then again, here, now we've got a little chorus. We can export, I'll say that's B1, right? Keep, go to sample edit, now we got this. And you know, I was just moving around. You probably don't want to go that extreme with a lot of that stuff. You probably don't want it to be that silly. But I just wanted to show the point that, so now I have that. I can go to like, you know, a new sequence, scroll down, make a new drum program, right? I'll call this chops, you know, or song, whatever you want to call it. Sample assign and throw A1 here and throw A1 there, throw B1 there, and now you've got that, you know. And if you know how to use clip programs, which I will go over in a future video, you could set these up as clips now if you wanted to. If you wanted to have a button control to trigger the different changes, you know. You could make this program mono, you know, come over here to program edit, mono, and then, you know, it'll just, then you got the access to the pads, you know. And because I like to do finger drumming, a lot of times I'll do this similar kind of a thing, but I'll do this without the drum track in there. I'll mute the drum track, and I'll mix down my, you know, chorus, my verse, you know, and I'll put those up top or something like that, and then I can trigger them and play drums if I want to. A lot of guys do that. You'll see my buddy DokBrass. He often has his samples up top and his drums down here, and he's going, you know, he's triggering a sample, playing drums, triggering a sample, playing drums. Yeah, I think that about goes over it. I just wanted to quickly go over how you can use the XY effects to your benefit to kind of finalize a song, or even just to add some interest when you're live, if you want to like have more hands-on control over effects and stuff like that. You know, I mean, maybe you're going live and somebody's doing a real emotional song and you want to, you know, maybe you're with a rapper and he's doing an emotional rap or something and you want to be able to like give him a little like, you know, go ahead, man, talk your shit. You know? Just, there's a lot of fun you can have with this live, especially if you're not like trying to finger drum through the whole thing like I am. If you're running your tracks, this gives you something to do live, and it looks cool, you know? And it's nice to, it gives you a better sense of the beat, you know, I would say. Yeah, and then, so to recap, I think the XY effects are great on the fly if you're live and you're trying to kind of affect your beat live the way a guy with an SP would. And I think the looper is great if you want to just, if you've got your A and your B parts, etc., you want to add some XY effects to the whole program, and you want to be able to switch them up as you're going and play around with it. I think if you go to the resampler on the looper, I think it's a great tool for that. And then you've got a perfectly sectioned off loop in the time, and you can just do what you want with that. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you. Feel free to like and subscribe if you'd like. I do have a Patron running now, so if you like this content and would like me to be able to keep doing it, I would really appreciate anything you can do there. Big shout outs to the patrons, Rexy, Adam Pigeon, RK. I really appreciate all you guys very much. My schedule going forward will be one beat video every Monday, one of these MPC instructionals every other Friday, and one drum instructional every other Friday, and the opposing Fridays. Thank you guys so much. Be good to each other.